Okay, we do another online one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry, Suresh, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I have two questions. I'm sorry, I love the Irish accent, but it's getting lost on me. So I'm really trying to prick up my ears as best as I can. It's two questions. One was, did you say, Professor David, that second and third persons was what you focusing on or something, because it's not the first you mentioned, it was the second and third. So I wanted to just recap and get that right. Yeah. And then the second one is now you said experience, reaction, wider community. Did I hear it right? Experience, reaction, wider community, or is it experience, reflection, wider community? I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think I've got that. No, I'm saying third person comes out of that integration of second and first and second person. A lot of our colleagues in other research who work under other research paradigms tend to ignore and leave out first person. And there's the power of people like Jack and Judy Marshall and so on have really brought first person back in and said, look, it's critical to be able to be aware of who you are, how you think, how you interpret, how you create what Jack calls a living theory of who you are and how you behave and so on. But that then gets played out in whatever your second person forum is with managers or teachers or students or whatever it might be. But then the outcome is not just a project, but there's an intended outcome. And that's why the word research is very important. Otherwise, it's good project management, it's good living, it's good action. And there's a lot of people, sometimes when I talk about cycles of action, reflection, they say, oh, I've been doing that all my life. And I say, yeah, but what have you published? Yeah. Because the word research is important there. Otherwise, it's experiential learning of some form.
Okay, can I get a straight?
Of the three, rather than, yeah.
Of the three persons, which is most important, if at all, or all three are equally important, or is there a hierarchy?
Well, I think people will differ on that. I would say second person is the most important because the second person with a group who are addressing a real issue, whether it's an improvement in an organization or whether it's addressing something to do with climate or whatever, but it's the group of people who are concerned, an organization, a community or a group who are concerned about something and want to do something about it. For me, that's the anchor. Action research is about to improve our world.
Yeah, that's where I think I wrote down my notes. Second person, I think you wrote down my notes. You put second person is at the heart of action research. That's
and it's true. You're engaging with second person that your first person learning happens.
Okay, got it.
Of course, you can do engage in first person learning through transcendental meditation and so on. You know, by reflecting yourself and never talking to anyone. Of course, you can. But in this context that I'm talking, I'm basically saying second person is the dynamic that which everything else then bounces off or gets involved in.
That's great, David. Thank you. Was there anybody from any other group that would like to give us a contribution from their conversations?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind contributing from our breakout room. We were room 4, and I was in there with Max and Mary. And we kind of went into the group and we're kind of thinking, what was the question that we're supposed to be exploring? But then we kind of had a chat, and Mary was describing how as a physics teacher, she had, we'd say, was doing her piece of research and seen change at the end of it and was delighted to have seen this change. And then being reminded that that necessarily wasn't what the research was about. And then we had a little bit of chat around, well, what is action research? And we kind of landed in the space of it in being in relation to a way of being and an opportunity to live in the direction of your values. And sometimes working within the value context as well that you're kind of in. So it was very enlightening. And that was the general gist. Now, Mary and Max, if I've left out anything of major importance, feel free to chime in, okay? But that's basically where we're at. And I suppose kind of getting our heads around the idea that qualitative and quantitative are terms that you could use for data, but not necessarily to describe action research itself. And I suppose having that little bit of insight from David as well has been a help too around it, you know, being participatory or emancipatory, and kind of moving in that kind of direction when thinking about action research. I don't think we actually had a question for David as such, but that was our kind of idea processes. That's basically what we came up with from the three of us.
Yeah. Well, see, quantitative just takes quantitative. Quantitative is both has an underlying philosophy as well as being a technique. So if you want to find out what 100 people think about something, then obviously you can create a questionnaire and find out or something. But a major study has in a quantitative, using quantitative method, has a philosophy that basically says reality is over there, I'm over here, and I have to create a path to over there that's reliable, valid, replicable, and there's to be no bias, and all those kind of standard canons of good research. So it's also philosophy. It's a positivist philosophy. So it's both. But so therefore, of course, you know, you can use a survey as part of action research, but you're not getting too trapped up in. You're using it as I was saying we were talking in our group there, that, you know, if you issue a questionnaire and you get a low return, if you're doing a quantitative study and you get a low return, you're in big trouble because your sample size is too small. If you're doing action research and you issue a survey and you get a low return, the question is what's going on, and you find out that there's apathy, there's distrust, whatever, and that's your agenda. I mean, I had a student and she organized this meeting and people said, this is a great thing, go and do it. She organized it and 4 people turned up. And of course she was devastated. But when she got her equilibrium back, she went back to people and basically said, yeah, you're onto something. But it's been a problem for years. There's a problem now and we're dead and buried in our graves. It'll still be a problem, but God bless your effort, but you haven't a hope. So what emerged from that was the immensity and the sense of futility about the task that the project she was going to do. And that became her agenda. So only 4 people turning up to her meeting, while it looked like a failure on the surface, actually generated new data. Remember, everything is data. Everything.
Have we any other question from the in-house groups for David before Jennifer?
Well, we talked about a lot of things, but I was kind of describing action research that I was doing in my school. And then we talked about teacher, we talked about first person, second person. We talked about teacher voice at the end. So we're not publishing like the results of, but we definitely get outcomes because we can see our action, like the action research things that I suppose things I'm doing this term, getting a young scientist up and running, creating a post for an ICT prefect that's never been in our school before, make sure that that post is successful, as in transforming all the time what we need to make sure the student is comfortable, making sure things are happening and there's a good relationship. But then at the very end, Katrina mentioned about the idea of teacher voice. So the idea really is third person to research. And I know I have a PhD, it's in a different subject, and I've recently done a master's, and I came across action research for the master's on numeracy in a whole school environment. And so all of the issues with that, but in the end, if it's not published and it's not taken up, where do teachers fit in? Or if they're transformed into better teachers, great. Isn't that a good idea?
Yeah, I wouldn't get messianic about publishing.
Okay.
You know, but and obviously in certain circumstances there's outlets and so on. But it's dissemination, that it's not just for us. Now, there can be different ways that gets done.
Publications are contributing to, say, new policy.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's what we're, is that what we're
Yeah, but
so let's say a new curriculum comes out, so it affects second level. And a lot of times it's a lot more disruptive and a lot more growth mindset and changing and being adaptable and inclusive. There's so many new things. But an academic researcher comes in to do academic research, maybe not from outside. They may not have a full appreciation of all of the factors. And somebody in a second level like me who has research experience, there's no voice really in the third person. There's no outlet. There's the teaching council, library and everything, but there's not an awful lot past that.
Yeah. I think most research is somebody spends 6 months in the library, finds a gap in the literature, does a design, maybe pilots something, goes out into the field, gathers stuff, goes back in, shuts the door, stays in their study for another year, writes it up and sends it off. Now, action research is who owns the issue, who are they, who designs it, who decides what's important. It's the participative piece all the way along.
I'd like to suggest that Padraig talk a little bit about inner development goals, because my position, of course, is the first person, creating your own living educational theory, answering the question, how do I improve what I'm doing, is the most significant. But Padraig, I think people would be interested in your inner development goals.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Just very briefly, Padraig is my name. I'm a lecturer in Southeast Technological University. I teach contemplative and developmental psychology and on a BA in well-being, but we're also being asked to develop a module on the IDGs, the inner development goals, which for anybody who isn't familiar with them are basically the interior side of the sustainable development goals. So it is this recognition that, you know, remember that the Sustainable Development Goals were initially the Millennium Development Goals, and that came and went and passed. And worthy as they are, there's a recognition there that without this interior development piece, we just won't get there. So I put a link in the chat. Maybe that's the best thing. Just check it out. Inner Development Goals. There's a link in the chat there. And we are forming an Irish hub. So anybody who is interested in that can contact me. We had a brilliant weekend down in Tipperary over the summer. And it's like what Dave was saying, this was very, very much so with our wellies on. You know, there was actually a bog there. So, music and a few glasses of wine in the evening, but a really, really interesting bunch of people from all different backgrounds who are, I suppose, forming around this notion of the inner development goals. As I say, it's a module now in our university. So, you know, there's that growing piece, but it's a global piece of work. There is a global practitioner network as well. But anybody can contact me. I put my email into the chat as well if people are interested in participating in the Irish Hub.
That's great, Padraig. Thank you. Thank you. Brenda, you were up next, and then we're going to really have to finish up.
Yeah, I'm going to be very quick. It's just about what our group spoke about. Anne-Marie spoke about barriers to reciprocal communication. Denise spoke about her work, and the word overwhelmed came out, and then I spoke about my work and added to Denise's about being overwhelmed and about trying to manage and be an action researcher as well, kind of wearing two hats and delegating. And then Marie brought in the word emancipation, and so why do you want to delegate? Emancipate them. And we had a discussion about that. So I just thought it important to bring the work of the group back. Okay, so thanks.